I'll be talking about compound interest. The difference between compound interest and simple interest is that under simple interest, the principal, which is the sum that's been given to you or invested, is kept constant. But compound interest, it keeps what? Increasing. That's it normally increases by what? Addition of the interest to the what? The principal. Under compound interest, you might have seen this formula. A is equals to what? P bracket what? R over what? 100 raised to power what? N. Where A is the what? The amount, the P is the what? The principal, R is the rate, that's the percentage at which the money has been given to you, then N is the what? The time. This is not the formula for compound interest. This is the formula for what? Amount under what? Compound interest. Now, there are some questions too where you may be given different rates. That's R1, R2, R3, and so on and so forth. So if you actually want to expand this formula to extend it to accommodate when the rates are multiple, all you have to write is what? Amount is equal to P bracket what? 1 plus what? R1 over what? 100 bracket what? 1 plus what? R2 over what? 100 bracket what? 1 plus what? R3 over what? 100. The list goes on. So be mindful of you not putting the powers on top whenever you expand it in this form. So that's what it means. Now, amount is always given as what? Principal plus what? Interest. Amount, whether it's under compound interest or under simple interest, amount is always given as what? The principal plus what? The interest. Now, if I desire to get the formula for what? Compound interest, use this, that's A is equals to this, then use and replace it. I'm going to have P bracket what? 1 plus what? R over what? 100 raised to power what? N is equals to what? P plus what? Compound interest. Bringing this P over, I have compound interest equals to what? P bracket what? 1 plus what? R over what? 100 raised to power N minus what? P. So factorizing the P out here, I'm going to have P, open another bracket, I have 1 plus what? R raised to power what? N minus what? 1. So this is the formula for what? Compound interest. Unlike the simple interest, you normally use that's S equals to what? P times what? Rate times time over what? 100. That's for simple interest. Then for compound interest, that is the formula they're supposed to use. And there are some things you should notice about this compound interest. Now, the time is always in years, but if there is ever a time that maybe the condition changes to you should take note of the changes. Now, for instance, if you ask someone any question, you hear that what the interest was done what monthly. If it is done monthly, what the effect on it is that the rate will be divided by what 12. While the time interval will multiply by what 12. That's monthly. Now, if it is done what half yearly, then all you have to do is to divide the rate by 2, then multiply the time by what 2. If you hear the word quarterly, all you have to do again is to divide the rate by what 4, then multiply the time by what 4. If you hear the word again, let's say weekly, on that note, if I hear weekly, I'll have R divided by what? I have 52, because 52 weeks makes what? A week, a year. So I have, and now we now multiply by what? 52. So you should take note of it. Although, when I'm solving any question, you will see how this, I'm going to manipulate this. I'm going to solve one to illustrate that. So I will take my first example on that to buttress my points. Now, let's see. First example, the compound interest on 16,000 for 9 months. For 9 months at 20%, 20% per annum, compounded quarterly, is what? So that's what I have there. I'm to solve that. So the compound interest on 16,000 for 9 months at 20% per annum compounded quarterly is what? So the principal that has been given to us there is what? 16,000. The rate is what? 20%. Then the time interval is what? 9 months. That's the N. Then the what again? Nothing. But remember the keyword quarterly. So if it's compounded quarterly, simply means the arrow is what? The 20 will be divided by what? 4. So this counts I have what? 5%. Then for the time interval now, which is what the 9, I have 9 is equals to what? So for the time interval, I'm going to have 9 times what? The 4, then divided by what? 12. It has to be divided by 12 because I'm trying to convert that 9 months into what? Years as well. So when you multiply by that 4, so I think, I think 3 goes here, 3 goes here, 4. So 4 cancel 4. I have a 3, that's 3/4. That's what's supposed to run there. Then remember the formula for compound interest is given as what? Principal, open the big bracket, 1 plus what? R over what? 100 raised to power this minus what? 1. So I will impute the values where they belong. I have Ci is equals to what? The principal is what? 16,000. I'll open the bigger bracket. Then I have this. The rate of interest is what? 5 over what? 100 bracket minus what? 1. So from that point again, I will have something that appears to be in this form. So I have what? 16,000, open the bracket. This will give me what? 1 plus what? 0.105. Remember, sorry, this should be what? Raised to power what? 3. So I have raised to power 3 minus what? 1. Open another big bracket. So I have 16,000. Open the bracket. This plus this, I'm going to have 1.05 raised to power 3. Minus what? 1. So I'm going to raise 1.05 to power 3, then I'll subtract 1 from it. I'll have 16,000 brackets 1.57 there minus what? 1. So from that point again, I will have 16,000 times this minus this 0.157 there, 0.157. So this times this, I'm supposed to have 2522 as a compound interest in question. So that's the answer to that. So I'm going to take what? The second example in that place. So for the second example, I will have I'll have a sum amounted to 10648 in 3 years and to 9680 in 2 years. If this was done on compound interest basis, calculate the rate assuming it is kept constant. Now, to find a rate assuming it's kept constant. Now, they said a certain sum, which is a principal. The first principal given to me there is what? 10648. The time interval, which is a N1, is what? 3 years. Then the second amount given to me is what? 9680. The time interval, which is N2, is what? 2 years. And I'm looking for the what? The rate that was kept constant between them. The same rate was using, giving out those money. Now, I will have, for the first one, record what amount is given as what? Principal bracket, what? 1 plus what? R over this raised to power N. So for the first one, I'm going to have 10648 is equal to the principal 1 plus what? R over what? 100 raised to power what? 3. Let me this equation 1. Do the same thing for the second one. I have 9680 is equals to what? Principal 1 plus what? R over what? 100 raised to power 2. Let me this equation what? 2. Now I will solve those equation 1 and 2 simultaneously. I will divide equation 1 as equation 1 divided by what? Equation what? 2. So from that aspect, I'm going to have 10648 divided by what? 9680 is equals to what? P1 R over what? 100 raised to power 3 divided by what? P, I have 1 plus what? R raised to power what? 2. The P will take care of P. Now, if that is true again, apply the laws of what indices to this part because the bases are the same but they have similar points. So I'm going to have 1 plus what r over what 100 raised to power 3 minus what 2. So it's as good as saying 1 plus r raised divided by 100 raised to power what 1. So when I do that, I will simply cancel here. I'll have 1.1 is equals to what 1 plus what arrow. So raised to power what 1. But we know that anything raised to power 1 is still the same thing. So we cancel this or we just delete it. So from that point again, what do I have to do? I'll bring the 1 over. So I have 1.1 minus 1 is equals to what arrow over what 100. This minus this gives us 0.1 is equals to what arrow over what 100. Converting 0.1 into fraction, I have 1 over 10 is equals to what arrow over what 100. So if that is true, let this take care of this. So I will have only what 1 is equals to what arrow over what 100 cross multiplying. I have arrow to be equal to what 10%. So it's 10% that those money were actually what giving up. So let's look at what example 3. Okay, I have if the rate of interest be what 4% per annum for the first year, 5% per annum for the second year, and 6% per annum for the third year, then the compound interest for what 10,000 for 3 years will be what? Now I have a case of what multiple rates. This way, that's 1, 2, 3. Like what I wrote before, I will expand it to be in this manner. This 1 plus what r over what 100 brackets what 1 plus what r over what 100 brackets what 1 plus what r over what 100. I'm writing it 3 times because I have what 3 rates. That's rate 1, rate 2, and rate 3. So if that is true, I'll have the amount. Remember, I'm looking for the compound interest, but let me just find the amount first. I have this to be equal to what? The principal equation is what 10,000. So I have 10,000 there. I have 1 plus what r1, which is the first one, which is what 4 over what 100 bracket what 1 plus what r2, which is what 5 over what 100. 1 plus what I have the 6 over what 100. Now on getting to that juncture, I will have something that should appear in this manner. All I have to do is to divide all those numbers by the 100 that are there. So I'll have a to be equal to what 10,000 bracket. I'll have 1 plus 0.04. Then I have 1 plus what 0.05. I'll have 1 plus what 0.06. So A is equal to what 10,000 bracket. This plus is 1.04. Then I have this plus is 1.05. Then I'll have this plus is 1.06. So what I have to do, I'll multiply everything here and I'll get the amount in question. So that will give me around 11,575.2 as the amount. Now, since I'm looking for the compound interest, I know that what amount is always equal to what principal plus what the compound interest. So from that note, I have compound interest is equal to what amount minus what principal. So compound interest is given as what the amount, which is what 11,575.2 minus what the 10,000. So I'm going to have the compound interest to be equal to 1,575.2 as the answer to that question. So thank you for watching.